You're listening to an iHeart podcast.
Run a business and not thinking about podcasting? Think again. More Americans listen to podcasts than ad-supported streaming music from Spotify and Pandora. And as the #1 podcaster, iHeart's twice as large as the next two combined. Learn how podcasting can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
Hi, I am Rushion McDonald. I host the weekly Money Making Conversation Masterclass show. The interviews and information that this show provides are for everyone. It's time to stop reading other people's success stories and start living your own. If you want to be a guest on my show, please visit our website, moneymakingconversations.com, and click the Be a Guest button.
Press submit, and the information will come directly to me. Now let's get this show started.
My guest on Money Making Conversation Masterclass is Ryan Wilson. He's the co-founder and CEO of The Gathering Spot, a private membership network that serves as a hub for collaboration and business connections for African Americans and minorities. The Gathering Spot opened in Atlanta in 2016 and has expanded nationally, creating the most significant fintech and community platform for Blacks and minorities with a combined collaborating business community of over 1 million people. Please welcome to Money Making Conversation Masterclass, Ryan Wilson. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about the Gathering Spot, 2016. I had to start before that with a dream, with an idea. Who pushed that idea and how did it happen?
So it did start before 2016. I like to say that a lot of times folks think that businesses start overnight, but our process was truly at night. I started writing about TGS in 2013, and my plan growing up was to be an attorney. So I was in law school in DC and came up with the idea to really rethink or reimagine the private city club experience. Sent the idea to my college roommate, and we worked for about 3 years before the first Gathering Spot opened in March of 2016.
Now, that sounded really simple, Ryan. Okay, you know, y'all had a great idea, and then all of a sudden it happened. Because we know it didn't happen because people push back on great ideas, especially when it's not normal, or especially when it's not part of a community that experience happens. What were the pushbacks and what were the obstacles in getting it opened?
So I actually counted the obstacles in the early days. So I thought it was important to know just how many of them we were collecting. Our first round of funding required $3 million of capital to be raised. And it was 97 people that told us no in a row before we got to our first yes. I, at the time, was 22, 23 years old, and we just kept going. I mean, the thing that we told ourselves during that time period was that we really were seeing something that the market couldn't see, right? And that, honestly, there was a good thing in the no's that we were getting from folks, because they were actually indications that we were probably heading actually in the right direction, because they couldn't see what we were trying to accomplish. But 97 people before the first yes, and then we after that first yes, we're able to move a little bit faster and start the construction process of the first TGS.
Now, first TGS, Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, because you said DC earlier in your conversation. Why Atlanta, Georgia was the Gathering Spot? To open it in Atlanta, Georgia was the perfect location.
I think Atlanta is one of the more important cities in the country right now. If you look at the colleges and universities, if you look at the small business community, if you look at the large companies that call Atlanta home, and then if you look at the creative community, I really think that what we export more than anything else in the city is our culture. So when I thought about a place that I would want to be, where there would be different people connecting with one another, I wanted to be in a city where Black folks were in leadership and leading the city, but also we're doing it from a variety of different industries. And so I decided to come back home. I'm from here, but this city is special. Atlanta is an incredibly special place, and I wanted to be a part of the growth of what I thought the city was going to experience.
And I have to agree. I know that Steve Harvey and I, when we left New York and we were trying to figure out a place where we wanted to set up our business, our headquarters, and in 2007, we moved to Atlanta because we felt that it was just the right environment, the right type of African Americans to do business with. It was upwardly mobile as far as cost of living. We felt that was in line right there. And also, and since 2007, you've seen how especially with Tyler Perry moving his theater down here and the tremendous growth in the television and film and streaming industry in here. In 2016, you said, you have to kind of be a visionary when you start setting up these ideas. did you see that, Brian? Or did it just happen and you just excited about being a part of being along for the ride?
I mean, I saw it, but more importantly, I felt it. Right when I came back home, I could feel the energy that was in the city, and this is a big city to a certain extent that still feels like a small town. Right, you can build relationships here. So I would come back to Atlanta, and we would get more done in a couple of days in the city than it felt like we were getting done anywhere else. We were trying to raise money. So I uh I felt that energy. I felt the fact that people were rooting for you here, that they're willing to help you, and that was a part of the culture. So it made all the sense in the world. And I mean, honestly, again, I'm in my early 20s at this part of the
Right.
journey. So um, I didn't have much to be afraid of. Right, it was exciting more than anything else, just to be able to have the chance to have a chance.
Well, let me tell you something, Ryan. I'm talking to Ryan Wilson, the co-founder and CEO of The Gathering Spot, a private membership network that serves as a hub and collaboration for business connections for African Americans and minorities. Now, I mean, it takes a lot of confidence, and I won't say the word arrogance, to say you're a young guy and say, I need $3 million, and then go in the room convincing people I need this amount of money. Now, what's your background to give you that level of confidence? And what type of presentation did you have to put together to convince people that this would work?
So I had the benefit. My parents were entrepreneurs, and so I grew up not wanting to start a business at all because I saw that life. I saw what my parents went through to build and scale the companies that they had started. The best advice that I could give folks that are staring at an idea that they have is just to know that it isn't random, right? There's something that's really leading you to the point of wanting to do whatever it is that you want to do. And it's important to be a good steward of what I saw as my assignment. My mission is to connect people. I'm a community builder, and look, I don't get a chance to do life over from what I understand, and so I didn't want to have any regrets about not trying. And at that point, again, I'm in my 20s, so if it didn't work out, in my mind it was like, well, I'll go back and I'll have plenty of time to figure out a plan B. But I couldn't live with the what if, and so our plan was to give it a shot, and thankfully, thanks to a lot of really, really good people that were helpful to us, we were able to get off the ground and running.
Now it's so enlightening. I'm born and raised in Houston, Texas. Okay, lived in Chicago for 5 years, New York for 4 years, so LA for 15 years, and so I understand the culture of this country, especially from the Black perspective, because I've lived it, I've experienced it, and so you've expanded this environment of the Gathering Spot. Now, what are the other two locations or other locations that you have, or other locations that you are considering, and why?
So we built the second TGS in Washington D.C. I met I went to school in D.C. for undergrad and for law school. Built the third one in Los Angeles, and then we have something called Connected Cities, where if you know anything about the Gathering Spot, we program a lot. We do a lot of events, and so
Right.
our mission during the pandemic, when we couldn't gather in the way that we traditionally were doing, was to start to build things that you could do maybe that weren't necessarily connected to the physical locations. So in 5 other cities, New York, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, and Charlotte, we have what we call connected cities. And so there are thousands of members that are a part of those clubs in the cities that I referenced that don't have access to a physical space yet, but do have access to our programming and to the community. The goal is to build physical locations in all of those markets plus some.
Okay, I just want to slow it down a little bit, Ryan. Because I know what the Gathering Spot is. When I read this out, I say a private membership network that serves as a hub for collaboration and business connections for African Americans and minority. What does that mean, and how does that membership register?
So we have the best way to understand TGS is that we build physical spaces where everyone's welcome, but we are focused on making sure that Black folks in particular feel celebrated at every turn of what we do. Our clubs have event space, so we host a lot of different events throughout the year. We have a restaurant and bar space, and then we have workspace. The reason why people join, though, is because of the network, because of the community. So my job each and every day is to try to figure out how to introduce people that ordinarily would not have met one another. The youngest member is 21. The oldest member is now 91. And so my job is to, no matter what you do, and if you go to a gathering spot, you'll see people wearing T-shirts sitting next to people who are wearing suits, right? And my job is to try to figure out where is the common ground and where can we build a relationship, hopefully for business purposes or honestly for people just to meet others that they need to know socially.
It's really interesting. I'm talking to Ryan Wilson, and I've been to the gathering spot for events. I've been to gathering spots for meetings. It's a certain pride that you give young entrepreneurs. That's my biggest takeaway, Ryan, is that when I meet young entrepreneurs, they say, "Can you meet me at the gathering spot?" And our meeting is at a table, and probably in the dining area. And when you walk into the gathering spot, ladies and gentlemen, it's you're met. It's an amazing experience because it's beautiful. First of all, and you walk in, and every step of the way, you felt like you walked into a world of professionalism. Every step of the way, as soon as you walk into the dining area, everybody feel like they're motivated to do something unique for themselves and special. I guess you have to experience that to understand what I'm talking about, because when we walk, this is not like walking into Spaces. This is not like walking into WeWorks, where they do rent out little offices and they do rent out the little desk and all that. This is the experience where you have people tied with the word pride. Am I right when I say that, Ryan?
No, I appreciate that. I mean, that's our goal, right? If I to use another reference point, I mean, different age group here, but if you think about the experience that a lot of folks had when they walked into their high school cafeteria or the cafeteria at college, right? Where everybody was there. It was a place where that you could build relationships, you could work, you could hang out, right? But it was family, right? It felt warm. That is what we are trying to make sure that the adults that are members of the club have a similar experience. And so people are there for different reasons. Again, some folks are there to get some work done. Others are there to meet people and try to get business deals done. But all in all, we want it to be a welcoming and warm experience that was built for you. We have this idea a lot of times that the spaces that we move in and out of were built for everybody. Well, look, my belief is that somebody was thinking about somebody when they built whatever it is that you're using. I was thinking about Black folks when we were building the gathering spot. And so the music that you hear, the food that you'll eat, and the people that you'll see all go back to this very simple idea of we need to have a place where we feel comfortable.
Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Money Making Conversations Masterclass. Welcome back to the Money Making Conversations Masterclass, hosted by Rushion McDonald. Money Making Conversations Masterclass continues online at moneymakingconversations.com and follow Money Making Conversations Masterclass on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, this is the fun part about talking to Ryan. I love talking to him because, I haven't saw him like a couple of years. It was a big event that I hosted over at the gathering spot because it's also by community. And I want people to emphasize that. That's why I've been to like several events there. I think the African American Museum had an event there where they had a fundraiser there. I went to that event for that. Of course, my most recent event was the Big Brothers Big Sister event where it was engaging Black men to come to the gathering spot and be mentors for young people. And this is the type of a home that you've created. What makes you so proud about it, Ryan?
Well, I'm grateful more than anything, right? When we started this journey, I had no idea that anybody was going to come into the first gathering spot is 25,000 square feet.
Right.
And so that's a lot of space to fill up on any given day. So to know that from the president of the United States to your favorite artist, to the many, many figures and leaders throughout town, including yourself, that have spent time at TGS and hosted programs, talked about the important issues that are happening in our community. I'm just grateful that folks saw this idea that we had in our head and have invested their time with us. More memories to count. I mean, the club in Atlanta, we tried to look at it the other day. I think we're like 10,000 events in.
Yes.
And so it's humbling.
It's amazing. It's about changing lives, and that's what I'm
Run a business and not thinking about podcasting? Think again. More Americans listen to podcasts than ad-supported streaming music from Spotify and Pandora. And as the #1 podcaster, iHeart's twice as large as the next two combined. So whatever your customers listen to, they'll hear your message. Plus, only iHeart can extend your message to audiences across broadcast radio. Think podcasting can help your business? Think iHeart. Streaming, radio, and podcasting. Call 844-844-iHeart to get started. That's 844-844-iHeart.
The American West with Dan Flores is the latest show from the Meat Eater Podcast Network, hosted by me, writer and historian Dan Flores, and brought to you by Velvet Buck. This podcast looks at a West available nowhere else. Each episode, I'll be diving into some of the lesser-known histories of the West. I'll then be joined in conversation by guests such as Western historian Dr. Randall Williams and best-selling author and Meat Eater founder Stephen Ranella.
I'll correct my kids now and then where they'll say when cave people were here. And I'll say, it seems like the Ice Age people that were here didn't have a real affinity for caves.
So join me starting Tuesday, May 6th, where we'll delve into stories of the West and come to understand how it helps inform the ways in which we experience the region today.
Listen to The American West with Dan Flores on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On November 5th, 2018, at 6:33 a.m., a red Volkswagen Golf was found abandoned in a ditch out in Sleep Hole Valley. The driver's seat door was open. No traces of footsteps leaving the vehicle. No belongings were found, except for a cassette tape lodged in the player. On that tape were 10 vile, grotesque, horrific stories that to this day have been kept restricted from the public until now. You feeling this too? A horror anthology podcast. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Michael Casson, founder and CEO of 3C Ventures, and your guide on Good Company, the podcast where I sit down with the boldest innovators shaping what's next. In this episode, I'm joined by Anjali Sood, CEO of Tubi, for a conversation that's anything but ordinary. We dive into the competitive world of streaming, how she's turning so-called niche into mainstream gold, connecting audiences with stories that truly make them feel seen.
What others dismiss as niche, we embrace as core. It's this idea that there's so many stories out there, and if you can find a way to curate and help the right person discover the right content, the term that we always hear from our audience is that they feel seen.
Get a front row seat to where media, marketing, technology, entertainment, and sports collide, and hear how leaders like Anjali are carving out space and shaking things up a bit in the most crowded of markets. Listen to Good Company on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In 1978, Roger Caron's first book was published, and he was unlike any first-time author Canada had ever seen.
Roger Caron was 16 when first convicted.
Has spent 24 of those years in jail.
12 years in solitary.
He went from an ex-con to a literary darling almost overnight.
He was instantly a celebrity.
He was an adrenaline junkie, and he was the star of the show.
Go Boy is the gritty true story of how one man fought his way out of some of the darkest places imaginable.
I had a knife go in my stomach, puncture my spleen, break my rib. I had my guts all in my hands.
Only to find himself back where he started.
Roger's saying is, I've never hurt anybody but myself. And I said, oh, you're so wrong. You're so wrong on that one, Rod.
From Campside Media and iHeart Podcasts, listen to Go Boy on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Call him a young man, because he started this idea, and it's important to realize that if you have a dream, don't feel that you're too young or too old to start pursuing it. And he started it in his early 20s, and he's still living it now in his early 30s. So the future is bright and the future is strong, and now he's expanding. He's on the show for some other things. The Atlanta Business League is celebrating their 90th anniversary. Before we get into that more detail, I just want to wrap my head around one more thing. The FinTech, which is financial tech, and the community platforms that are available at the gathering spot. You hear the word FinTech a lot being thrown around. What exactly is that, and how are you guys being one of the linchpins or one of the forward-thinking platforms for that?
So fintech broadly speaks to this idea that there are a new set of companies that are trying to provide financial services or financial solutions to people. So from savings and credit to investing, you will see the company over time really speaks to the entire financial health of our community. Why that's important is that at TGS, I mentioned all the programs that we've been hosting for our entire history. A lot of those conversations get back to us talking about money, right? But we realized that we didn't actually have the tool. We could talk about it, right? But we didn't have the ability to bank or help our community actually gain access to the tools that we were speaking about. We can talk about it and host our programs and meet one another, but then we also get connected to the right resources. That again at scale becomes a really powerful thing.
You know, when I bring interviews onto the show, and it was a couple of things that happened in my life. You know, like I said, Ron, I was born in Houston, and then I moved to New York when I thought I was going to be the next Eddie Murphy, doing my stand-up comedy career, and it was just how empowering that city was emotionally for me. And then when I moved to LA, because you kind of grow up and you really realize how much history is taught to you about New York. So when you get up there, you're kind of like walking around going, wow, wow, Brooklyn Bridge, wow, Empire State Building. And then when I went to LA, it was the same way, Muscle Beach and the Walk of Fame and the Chinese Theater. And it's becoming the same way with the city of Atlanta. It's becoming a lot of landmarks. Big events are constantly being held here. And when you talk about the Atlanta Business League, what is your relationship with them, and what's the purpose of us discussing it on the show today?
So I have the privilege of serving as the new chair of the Atlanta Business League. And it's important for everyone to know, if you are a Black-owned business in Atlanta, you have been impacted by the work of the Atlanta Business League. This is our 90th year as an organization. And so my job is, in that very rich history, to continue the effort to advocate and advance the interests of Black-owned businesses in Atlanta specifically. So we've got a great organization and a great history, but also a great current membership that is, again, focused on the issues of the day.
Now, when you talk about the Congress, its purpose, our lineup, our target audience, key takeaways for the attendees, talk about that, because it sponsors Norfolk Southern, WCLK, and Atlanta AJC, which is a print publication that's located in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Those important sponsors are important. You got to mention them. You got to be able to say what they do and they serve their purpose. But what audience are you really trying to reach?
Yeah, so everyone is welcome. Please keep that in mind, right? But our focus is everything connected to Black-owned businesses that are in Atlanta and the folks that are interested in partnering with them. So you will see some of the largest companies in town. I thank you for mentioning our sponsors, but you will see some of the larger organizations in town that are interested in doing business with some of the businesses that are members of the league also present. Goal of this day is, again, to talk about the important issues that we're seeing. We will engage what's happening in the market broadly, but then also give very practical advice by way of panel discussions about what Black-owned businesses in the city can be or should be thinking about as they continue to grow and scale their companies.
It's really interesting because, and I think you can agree with me, like in 2020, the pandemic hit, but also the unfortunate murder of George Floyd in the state of Minnesota. And there was a huge push for diversity, equity, inclusion. Well, I'm out in the business just like you. It feels like that lull for that push, because politics are getting involved in it, means that, people are trying to say diversity is a bad word, shouldn't be using it. It's like reverse racism in a sense. Now, when we talk about Black businesses, At one time they were, companies were pursuing us, pursuing our opportunities. It feels like now we're at a different hustle speed now. Am I wrong in saying that, Brian? Or are you seeing something differently than what I'm seeing?
No, I'm not seeing much different. Look, one of my favorite quotes is, "Do you really want to win or look good losing?" And I think, unfortunately, a lot of times in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, it's not always about winning, right? It's about looking good losing. That is not in our interest, right? We actually have to. It's in everybody's interest, no matter who you are, that Black-owned businesses grow and scale. We've got to continue to see, yes, them be started, right? But also watch these companies get to meaningful scale. What that means are more employment opportunities for folks. That means better participation in our communities and the ability to be able to spend in our community. So, look, I do agree with you that we are entering a time period where it feels like, we came, saw, and conquered as we needed to for Black-owned businesses and our advocacy and support of them.
Right.
We're not there yet. And I mean, the 90 years of the Atlanta Business League tells you pretty quickly that we've had a lot to discuss for a long time, but we're not nowhere near the finish line. And it's important to continue to keep a spotlight on what is a very important issue.
I just want to say this to Ryan. The gathering spot, like I said, we do have three physical locations. One is in D.C. Of course, the headquarters is in Atlanta, or the home base is in Atlanta, and then Los Angeles. Now you over the Atlanta Business League, a historic organization that has been fighting the fight. And you're a young guy, man, and I'm so impressed with that. The maturity and the responsibility carries a certain burden with it. How do you allow that to allow you to be yourself and continue to understand that you can't do it all?
Look, I look at this as responsibility, and if you know your history, right, you know that there were good people for a long time fighting way harder than what I can say that I am on a daily basis. I wake up and go to work each day, but thanks to their sacrifice, I'm able to do it in a context where the work, while still difficult, is nowhere near what if you again understand our history, our ancestors faced. And so I wake up every day with that knowledge and knowing that it's important to continue to figure out how to keep going on. With organizations like the Atlanta Business League, I would not be able to be in business if it were not for the Atlanta Business League. I decided to come back to Atlanta in my 20s, raise money, and thought it was possible because organizations like the ABL has shown it so. So we have a responsibility to keep all of these efforts going. And so I would really appreciate if folks that are listening to this conversation, please consider joining the Atlanta Business League. Please, we need you engaged on trying to figure out how to grow and scale our companies. The easy way to do that is to make sure that you're being intentional with how you spend your money. But beyond that, what other ways can you probably know somebody in business? What other ways can you be helpful to helping that company get to scale? So I don't look at that with sadness. I look at it as responsibility and with optimism and joy that I get the opportunity to have an opportunity to even to make an impact. And so I'm going to do it.
You're powerful, my brother. A couple of things I want to mention as we close. Take your business to the next level. What's that all about?
So that's a part of our effort at the Atlanta Business League. And it's true to name, right? It's an effort that businesses can join with us and where we get laser focused on growth. So number of programs at ABL, but again, please consider joining and becoming a member of the organization. As you do, you'll see that we host a number of programs throughout the year that will help you grow and scale your company.
He is a leader, a natural leader, still a young man. And he's a leader when I say that, combined collaborating business community of over 1 million people. The CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, located in, like you said, Atlanta, D.C., and as well as Los Angeles, physical location, as well as hotspots in places like Chicago and Houston. Again, thank you for coming on my show, Money Making Conversation Masterclass, Ryan.
I appreciate you having me. See you soon.
Bye-bye. This has been another edition of Money Making Conversation Masterclass, hosted by me, Rushion McDonald. Thank you to our guests on the show today, and thank you, our listening audience. Now, if you want to listen to any episode or want to be a guest on the show, visit moneymakingconversations.com. Our social media handle is Money Making Conversation. Join us next week, and remember to always lead with your gifts. Keep winning.
You're listening to an iHeart podcast. You're listening to an iHeart podcast.
Amy Robach and TJ Holmes here. Diddy's former protege, television personality, Danity Kane alum, Aubrey O'Day joins us to provide a unique perspective on the trial that has captivated the attention of the nation.
It wasn't all bad, but I don't know that any of the good was real. I went through things there.
Listen to Amy and TJ Presents Aubrey O'Day, covering the Diddy trial on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It is time now for today's Strawberry Letter. And if you need advice on relationships, dating, work, sex, parenting, and more, please submit your Strawberry Letter to SteveHarveyFM.com and click Submit Strawberry Letter. We could be reading your letter live on the air, just like we're going to read this one right here, right now. And you never know, it could be yours.
It could be yours, so buckle up and hold on tight. We got it for you. Here it is. Strawberry Letter.
Thank you, nephew. Subject, his sister catfished me. Dear Steve and Shirley, I'm 38 years old and I've been with the same man for 5 years, and he's not focused on marriage or taking our relationship further. But he won't let me go. He accuses me of seeking attention from other men because of the way I dress, and I see that as him not trusting me. He's so paranoid all the time, so I reassure him that I'm not up to no good when I'm hanging out with my friends. I told myself I'd give him another year to propose. I would never tell him about my deadline because I don't want him to propose unless he really wants to. I took a short break from him and I stopped playing house. I went and stayed with my mom for a month to force my boyfriend to take me on dates and make time for me if he wanted to have sex with me. During that time, I got a DM from a handsome guy that said he saw me at a career fair that I was speaking at. We exchanged phone numbers and I gave him career advice and helped him with his resume. I never talked with him on the phone, only texts and emails. He wanted us to meet up somewhere and I told him that I have a boyfriend. That led to him opening up about the trouble he was having with his love life, and I told him about how my boyfriend takes me for granted. Little did I know, my boyfriend's 17-year-old sister was catfishing me, and I had been communicating with her, not the handsome guy. I was so busted. My boyfriend broke up with me, and I tried to reason with him, but then I realized that I'm too old for games. I did not cheat or do anything terrible. Should I stop fighting for this relationship? Well, yeah, if you're asking me, yes, absolutely yes. Because what are you fighting for? You're not fighting for anything. He's not worth it. What would you be fighting to save? You weren't happy with him anyway. I mean, you said you've been with this man for 5 years and nothing. No proposal, nothing. No working on the relationship, trying to take it to the next level, none of that. And all this moving in with your mom to force him to take you out and to want to have sex with you is crazy. I mean, don't you know if he wanted to do any of these things, he would? And that includes proposing. And his sister catfishing you. What is that all about? This is all just stupid and immature and, like you say, games. He broke up with you over that? You didn't cheat or do anything terrible, you said. You helped this guy with his resume. You gave him some career advice, and you told him you had a man that took you for granted. You never even saw this guy or talked to him on the phone, and your man broke up with you over that after 5 years of dating. I think this incident just gave him a reason to do what he had been wanting to do all along, and that was get out of this relationship. So to you, I say the same thing. Get out of this relationship. Steve, well, you're out of it because he broke up with you, but get over it. Steve?
Well, this letter kind of ignorant to me, so
yeah.
I think I should address it as an ignorant person. Just pray for me, Father God, help that
all the time.
I ask God to let there be more of him and less of me, and more you and less me. And I'm trying, because the me is so dominant. I want to say something and respond, but the God in me is holding my tongue. This 38-year-old woman is dating this man that ain't thinking about her really no further than what it is. He's really just got her there at his beckoning call, seems to me. He's not focused on marriage or taking the relationship further, but he won't let me go. No. That's not true. It ain't that he won't let you go, it's you won't leave. See, stop blaming men for holding on to you when it's you that's holding on to them. Stop giving a man that kind of power over you. It ain't that he won't let you go, it's that you don't have the courage to leave. Now, he's always saying that you're trying to seek attention from other men because of the way I dress, and I see that as him not trusting me. Both of those things are true. When you get dressed in the morning, ladies, don't you dress to impress?
Yeah.
It might be yourself, it might be your co-workers, it might be your husband, but you dress to impress. Now, if somebody at the job get impressed, then that's just bonus. But I put it on to put it on. You know what I'm saying? I put it on to put it on. And anyway, he's so paranoid, and I got to reassure him that I'm up to no good when I'm hanging out with my friends. I told myself give him another year to propose, but I would never tell him about my deadline because I don't want him to propose unless he really wants to. Well, that don't make no sense right there. That's a mistake. Ladies, if y'all don't start putting timelines on some of these men, you ain't gonna ever get what you want. Because as long as we getting what we want, we cool. Now, you did a smart thing. You took a short break from him and you stopped playing house. You wouldn't stay with your mom for a month to force my boyfriend to take me on dates and make time for me if he wanted to have sex with me. That was a good move. It just you only did it for 30 days. You should have kept that plan in place. When we come back, we'll tell you about the DM she got and how the catfish began.
All right, Steve, hang on. We'll have part 2 of your response coming up at 23 minutes after the hour. Today's Strawberry Letter subject, his sister catfished me. We'll get back into it right after this.
You're listening to the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Amy Robach and TJ Holmes here. Diddy's former protege, television personality, platinum-selling artist, Danity Kane alum, Aubrey O'Day joins us to provide a unique perspective on the trial that has captivated the attention of the nation.
Aubrey O'Day is sitting next to us here. You are, as we sit here, right up the street from where the trial is taking place. Some people saw that you were going to be in New York, and they immediately started jumping to conclusions. So can you clear that up? First of all, are you here to testify in the Diddy trial? Aubrey will offer her opinions and expertise based on her first-hand knowledge from her days on Making the Band as she emerged as the breakout star. The truth of the situation would be opposite of the glitz and glamour.
It wasn't all bad, but I don't know that any of the good was real. I went through things there.
Listen to Amy and TJ Presents Aubrey O'Day, covering the Diddy trial on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The American West with Dan Flores is the latest show from the Meat Eater Podcast Network, hosted by me, writer and historian Dan Flores, and brought to you by Velvet Buck. This podcast looks at a West available nowhere else. Each episode, I'll be diving into some of the lesser-known histories of the West. I'll then be joined in conversation by guests such as Western historian Dr. Randall Williams and best-selling author and Meat Eater founder Stephen Ranella.
I'll correct my kids now and then where they'll say when cave people were here. And I'll say, it seems like the Ice Age people that were here didn't have a real affinity for caves. You know?
So join me starting Tuesday, May 6th, where we'll delve into stories of the West and come to understand how it helps inform the ways in which we experience the region today.
Listen to The American West with Dan Flores on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In 1978, Roger Caron's first book was published, and he was unlike any first-time author Canada had ever seen.
Roger Caron was 16 when first convicted.
Has spent 24 of those years in jail.
12 years in solitary.
He went from an ex-con to a literary darling almost overnight.
He was instantly a celebrity.
He was an adrenaline junkie, and he was the star of the show.
Go Boy is the gritty true story of how one man fought his way out of some of the darkest places imaginable.
I had a knife go in my stomach, puncture my spleen, break my rib. I had my guts all in my hands.
Only to find himself back where he started.
Roger's saying is, I've never hurt anybody but myself. And I said, oh, you're so wrong. You're so wrong on that one, Rod.
From Campside Media and iHeart Podcasts, listen to Go Boy on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The #1 hit true crime podcast, The Girlfriends, is back with something new, The Girlfriends Spotlight. Our first 2 series introduce you to an incredible gang of women who teamed up to fight injustice, showing just how powerful sisterly solidarity can be. We're keeping this mission alive with The Girlfriends Spotlight. Each week, a different woman sits down with me, Anna Sinfield, to share their incredible story of triumph over adversity. Like June, who founded an all-female rock band in the 1960s.
I might as well have said, we're going to walk on the moon.
But she sure showed them who's boss and toured the world.
They would just be gobsmacked, and they would rush up after the set and say, not bad for chicks.
So come and join our girl gang. Listen to The Girlfriend Spotlight on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Jay Shetty, and I'm thrilled to announce my first ever On Purpose live tour presented by Chase Sapphire Reserve. That's right, I'm coming live to a city near you. Come and see me. Join me and surprise guests for meaningful and insightful conversations to spark learning, experience growth, and build real connections. I'll also guide you through live meditations, share groundbreaking insights, and create powerful moments of inspiration designed to deepen connections, spark growth, and foster learning. Chase Sapphire Reserve is the gateway to the most captivating travel destinations and offers exclusive rewards and experiences so you can explore the world your way. Discover more with Chase Sapphire Reserve.
Folks, there are a lot of reasons to like Hyundai. Hyundai's done a lot to support American consumers. I mean, they announced their investment of $21 billion in the United States over the next 3 years that will expand manufacturing and create more jobs for Americans.
And they just announced that they will not be raising MSRP through June 2nd, no matter what. Call 562-314-4603 for more details.
All right, come on, Steve. Let's recap today's Strawberry Letter. The subject is his sister catfished me.
The 38-year-old woman got this man that don't half want her, so she done played the games with him and stuff, and she done set a deadline. She want a proposal in a year, but she didn't get a guy the deadline, which now he don't know. Me and stupid, we don't take hints. So I think you should. If you have a deadline, you ought to give it to a guy. And you said the reason you didn't do that is because you didn't want him to propose to you unless he really wants to. Well, they won't. A man ain't gonna propose to you unless he really want to. But he ain't gonna give you a date unless he know you really want to. Hello, you see how it works? So, you know, y'all can't have one without the other ladies. So you wanted to stop playing house with him, so you took a break from him and you went and you stayed with your mom for a month to force him to take you on dates and make time for you if he wanted to have sex with you. During that time, I got a DM from a handsome guy that said he saw me at a career fair I was speaking at. We exchanged phone numbers. I gave him career advice, helped him on his resume, never talked to him on the phone, only texts and emails. He wanted us to meet up somewhere, and I told him I have a boyfriend. That led to him opening up about the trouble he was having with his love life, and I told him about how my boyfriend takes me for granted. Little did I know, my boyfriend's 17-year-old sister was catfishing me. Now, for those of you that's like me that thought that catfishing was a sport, done in Mississippi and riverbanks. Let me help you understand something. Catfishing is when someone pretends to be someone else without your knowledge to get you to perform some type of act or get you to talk or make a commitment without keeping from you whole time their real identity. That's basically what catfishing is. The boyfriend's 17-year-old girl sent a picture to her saying, this is who I am, and I met you at a place you were speaking at. And that's what the catfish began. But because they didn't get on the phone and have no verbal or FaceTime. See, FaceTime, it stops all this.
Yeah.
But because they didn't do no FaceTiming, now you was communicating with his 17-year-old sister who was catfishing you because she don't like you anyway. And don't be surprised if your boyfriend didn't put her up to it because he was jealous of you anyway. So he probably had his little sister do this to set you up because he ain't trying to marry you all the way. He been suspicious of you anyway. So now he thought he was busted. You said, I'm so busted. My boyfriend broke up with me. I tried to reason with him, but then I realized I'm too old for games. I did not cheat or do anything terrible. Should I stop fighting for this relationship? Shirley said you should. And you know what? I agree with her 100%. Because what you fighting for? You ain't got time for these games. Him or his little ignorant sister. But he more ignorant than the little sister is. At least she's 17. She dumb for a reason. You got catfished. So what? You didn't do nothing. You ain't meet with him, and then when he tried to meet you, told him you had a boyfriend. He opened up about how he was having a hard time with his girl, and then you said your boyfriend taking you for granted. All that's true. Now your boyfriend gonna break up. Now he gonna make you crawl back. Now y'all gonna start over. Now he gonna buy another 5 years with you. That's how that's gonna work. Good riddance. Next time you go to a conference to speak, you need to spot a handsome guy and DM him.
Oh.
Quit fooling with this man that ain't fooling with you. And ladies, listen to me. Stop expecting a man to get the hints when we don't do hints well at all. If you are giving your man a year to propose to you, but you don't tell him he got a year, and then he don't propose, and now you mad? No. If he has a year to propose, tell him, listen, you got 1 year to get yourself together when it comes to me. If you don't think you love me enough in a year to want to spend the rest of your life with me, then I will know in a year and we can part ways. That's what you have to do. So stop talking about he wouldn't let you go. No, you are afraid to leave. That's all it is. Any questions, ladies? Shirley?
Well, I mean, what do you think? Why did he break up with her? I think that he didn't do any of these things because he didn't want to. You know, he didn't propose.
He doesn't want to marry her. He's not going to let the relationship move any further because he's getting everything he wants. They playing house. He having sex. He got the chick of his dreams. You want the day of your dreams when that ain't his dream. You making all his dreams come true, but he ain't making none of yours come true. So that's why you ladies always have to have that issue, that soft ultimatum.
Yeah.
Or else. Or else you're going to have nothing. And I don't see what you're fighting for. Let them break up. Bye.
Why is she thinking that it's him that's paranoid? It's him that's thinking that she's going out, you know, dressing a certain way.
There are men who have great manipulation skills and will make you think it's you when it's them the whole time. The best offense is a good defense. The best defense is a good offense.
Right.
If you throwing shade and blame on the other person all the time, they ain't got time to throw it on you because they over there playing defense. It's an old trick.
Yeah.
He done fooled you. Stop being fooled.
All right, Steve. Thank you. Post your comments on today's Strawberry Letter at Steve Harvey FM on Instagram and Facebook, and check out the Strawberry Letter podcast on a very free iHeartRadio app. Free never sounded so good. Download it today.
You're listening to the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Amy Robach and TJ Holmes here. Diddy's former protege, television personality, Danity Kane alum, Aubrey O'Day joins us to provide a unique perspective on the trial that has captivated the attention of the nation.
It wasn't all bad. but I don't know that any of the good was real. I went through things there.
Listen to Amy and TJ Presents Aubrey O'Day covering the Diddy trial on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to an iHeart podcast.